There's one thing you can't argue when it comes to Adrian Martinez and his career at Nebraska. He always gave it his all. This past weekend, he almost led the Cornhuskers to an upset win over Wisconsin in Camp Randall, but sustained an injury in the game and will be out against Iowa on Friday. Although he still has 1 year of eligibility left, many wonder whether he will return to Nebraska next season. If he decides not to return, the question on whether Martinez is one of the best quarterbacks to come through Lincoln will be debated when you compare his stats, effort, and results on the field. But who is Adrian Martinez? Adrian Martinez was born on January 7, 2000 and grew up in Clovis, California. When Martinez was 10, he would lose his mother from uterine cancer that had spread to her lungs. After his mother passed, Adrian would play in a youth football game, and his coach devised a trick play where Adrian would take a pitch from the running back position and throw it deep. He told The Athletic, "I swear I couldn't throw it that far. I thought something was carrying that ball for me. Something had to have happened. We scored on the play. But I feel like my mom pushed it along. I believe to this day that she helped that ball go." Adrian and his father struggled after the loss of his mother, but the Clovis community would come together and support them. Adrian still believes his mother is with him today, helping him complete long throws, telling The Athletic, "I believe she's always within me. Really, the actions I take now are to make her proud and to make my dad proud. I think to myself often, is this something my mom would have wanted? Would she be proud of how I'm handling this?" Adrian attended Clovis West High School, where as a sophomore he threw for 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns, while also rushing for more than 900 yards. As a junior, Martinez threw for 2,562 yards, 25 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, while also rushing for 1,462 yards and 14 touchdowns on the ground. Towards the end of his junior year, Martinez hurt his right shoulder when he was hit on a running play on the sideline. He played through the pain in a pair of playoff games, but the soreness persisted into the winter. Martinez dove into basketball and took a hard foul while driving to the bucket. He sat for a short period of time before coming back on the court. A few seconds later, after collecting a rebound, his arm would collapse. He had torn his labrum. Martinez told The Athletic, "Hindsight is 20/20, and I was a little caught up in the moment. But at the time, I felt good enough to play, and I wanted to win a sectional championship." Martinez would go see a renowned surgeon in Southern California who had repaired Tom Brady's knee in 2008. During the spring of 2017, Adrian and his father were sitting in church, and his father looked at the brace on his son's arm and broke down crying, telling The Athletic he loses his mom. Now he's in high school, going to basically live his dream, and this happens. What's going to happen to this kid? At the time, it was unknown whether Adrian's arm strength would return after the injury. Unfortunately, due to the injury, Adrian would miss his senior football season and was about to deal with a crazy recruitment. Coming out of high school, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, Adrian Martinez was a 4-star recruit who was the 7th best dual-threat quarterback, 21st best player in California, and 139th best player nationally in the class of 2018. He received over 26 Division I offers from the likes of Alabama, Nebraska, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Originally, Adrian expected his recruitment to finish up in the fall of 2016, his junior year. He had scholarship offers from Fresno State and Nevada before Jake Spavital found him as the offensive coordinator at Cal and became the first recruiter to earn Adrian's trust. Spavital had coached Johnny Manziel in 2013 and watched 2 or 3 games of tape on Martinez before offering him a scholarship. Spavital told The Athletic, "I was like immediately, this kid's got it." Adrian accepted the offer in November of 2016. George Petrosons, the head coach of Clovis West, told The Athletic, "Adrian's a pleaser. He wants to do well for his coach. If he feels that connection, he's going to run through a wall. He didn't just want to go to a program, he wanted to go to the program where he could feel that bond." At the time Adrian was dealing with his shoulder injury, Cal fired Sonny Dykes, and Spavital was named the interim head coach before leaving for West Virginia when Justin Wilcox arrived. As he rehabbed his shoulder, he began to become unsure of his commitment to Cal. Enter Butch Jones in Tennessee. The coaching staff connected with Martinez and hosted him for a visit in Knoxville. The Volunteers were not concerned over his rehab either. In April of 2017, Martinez dumped Cal, and 2 weeks later, he committed to Tennessee. But as Martinez sat out his senior season, still on the mend, the bottom fell out on Jones. Tennessee fired the coach in early November, and the Vols' 0-8 SEC finish looked like a delight compared to the coaching search that followed. Adrian had to look around again. He visited Ohio State, but it felt wrong. Then, according to The Athletic, in the last week in November, Mario Verduzco called Petrosons. The quarterback's coach at UCF, Verduzco, dropped a hint that Frost and his assistants might be heading to Nebraska, after the upcoming American Athletic Conference title game against Memphis. He wanted to know if Martinez would be interested. Verduzco had seen Martinez months before, and both enjoyed the visit, but UCF didn't appeal to the quarterback. Adrian was intrigued by this new opportunity, and as he watched the UCF-Memphis game, reports came out that Scott Frost had accepted the Nebraska head coaching job. A few minutes after the game, Adrian got a message from his head coach to call Verduzco. A few days later, Verduzco came to visit in Nebraska gear, and the visit went well that he returned a few days later with Frost. Adrian's father told The Athletic, "He was just a guy who you knew you'd be a better person for being around. He was different. I don't want to compare the two, but he was a lot like Jake Spavital." The family felt great about Verduzco, unlit cigar hanging from his mouth and all, with Adrian telling The Athletic, "It was perfect, from the situation to the offense to the coaches. It couldn't have been better. It was like God's plan." During his freshman season, Adrian Martinez became the first true freshman quarterback to start in the season opener. He finished with the best per-game total offense average in program history and third highest figure ever by a true freshman nationally. The Cornhuskers would finish the season 4-8, as Martinez threw for 2,617 yards, 17 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, while also rushing for 629 yards and 8 touchdowns on the ground. He finished the year as honorable mention All-Big Ten and as a freshman All-American. Going into his sophomore year, Martinez was expected to take a larger leadership role, with Scott Frost telling The Athletic he's going to be a leader, whether he wants to or not, just because of the position he plays and how well he played last year. He can't back into that. He's got to take it on, accept it, and embrace it. As a sophomore, Martinez played in 10 games, throwing for 1,956 yards, 10 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, while also rushing for 626 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. During the crazy 2020 season, he would be benched for 2 games, but returned to the starting role, finishing the year throwing for 1,055 yards, 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, while also rushing for 521 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground. This year has been tough for Nebraska and Adrian Martinez, but he will finish the year throwing for 2,867 yards, 14 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, while also rushing for 512 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground. Throughout his Cornhusker career, Martinez has battled injuries every year and for the most part, fought through them. Frost told The Athletic on Monday, "Sometimes it's been great, sometimes it hasn't, but I admire him, respect him. He and I have battled through a lot together, and I just appreciate who he is. I certainly hope it's not his last game, but if it is, he needs to be honored." This is the end. Martinez finished his career as the only 3-time captain in Nebraska school history and the all-time leader in total offense. He is 14-24 as the starting quarterback at Nebraska. The Huskers are 3-8 this year and 1-7 in the Big Ten. They've lost 7 games by 1 score, tying an FBS single-season record. He fought through a handful of injuries this year, including a broken jaw. Another big thing was Martinez never complained in his career publicly. He just put his head down and worked hard. Martinez has 2 years to complete 1 season of college football eligibility. He graduated 5 months ago, so he could decide to transfer or stick it out for 1 more year in Nebraska. He could also redshirt the 2022 season and let his body recover, or he could make a run at the NFL, where his athleticism and leadership skills might make him attractive as a potential backup, or look at the Canadian Football League. Finally, he made it just decide to hang it up after all his body has endured. When Scott Frost was asked about his quarterback's future, he answered, "I think he needs a little time and space. If Adrian's career at Nebraska is done, he will leave with a complicated legacy, but I think he deserves a title as a Nebraska legend." What do you think? What type of legacy is Adrian Martinez leaving at Nebraska? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out my other videos right here. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.